Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
This is a heavy week, and it's only Tuesday. So with that in mind, see if you can take a moment today to do something that makes you smile and check in on a friend or a neighbor. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Here's the news. Coming up, an update on the investigation into the attack on peaceful demonstrators Sunday in Boulder and what we've learned about the victims.
Am I even safe in my own community?
Then, the MyPillow CEO is on trial in Denver.
Tina Peters could be making an appearance.
Plus, a big loss for a group that serves people with disabilities.
It was really just a punch to the gut for us.
And a music lift with a ton of local pride. It's Tuesday, June 3rd. Here's the news in Colorado today. We've learned a lot more about the attack that happened Sunday in Boulder. The suspect of the attacks admitted to investigators that he targeted people walking peacefully to call for the release of hostages held by Hamas. Here's Governor Jared Polis.
Many of them were out there most weekends, making sure that we hold the hostages front and center in our minds. Very difficult to go through second-degree burns in some cases, third-degree burns in other cases. These are very serious considerations, and especially for people that are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s.
The man said he planned the attack for a year, and he wanted to, quote, kill all Zionist people. When he threw Molotov cocktails at the demonstrators, he yelled the words, "Free Palestine." He faces a federal hate crimes charge, as well as attempted murder, assault, and other charges. The federal prosecutor, acting U.S. Attorney Bishop Grewell, spoke to the media yesterday.
No one should ever be subjected to violence of any kind. But our laws recognize that such violence is particularly pernicious when someone is targeted because of their race, their religion, or their national origin.
Mohammed Solomon had his first brief court appearance yesterday as well, wearing an orange jumpsuit and what appeared to be a bandage on his head. He's due back in court on Thursday. We have learned that he's an Egyptian citizen who applied for asylum in the U.S. in 2022 and overstayed his tourist visa. And he's been living in Colorado Springs with his family. He had additional things he planned to use to start fires and kill people on Sunday, and he planned to die in the attack himself. Here's FBI's Mark McKellick.
There were 16 unused Molotov cocktails within arm's reach of the subject at the time of his arrest. So there is no question that the first responders saved lives and prevented further victims from being injured.
The attacker also told police that he wanted to shoot people, but he was unable to buy a gun because he doesn't have a legal immigration status. In an update to what we told you yesterday, there are actually 12 victims with burns and other injuries. 2 were still in the hospital as of late yesterday. One of the victims survived the Holocaust. Yesterday, I talked with Boulder's Jewish Community Center Executive Director, Jonathan Lev, who is asking everyone to be patient as families go through a difficult time.
It's a really private time for the victims, and we are in touch with family members, and in some cases, the victims themselves. But we're also hyper aware of the space that's necessary. This is only 24 hours that has happened, and we are doing everything to be able to support not only the victims, but the communities deeply impacted by this horrific event.
On Boulder's Pearl Street, people are paying tribute and offering support for the Jewish community. Along the street, supporters laid flowers and prayed for the injured. Caleb Longart and Megan Jones are students in Boulder. A day after the attack, they are still in shock.
It's scary, right? When your community is attacked and you know that could have been you, right?
My initial reaction was fear. And I think that's a very natural reaction, and we shouldn't try to bury that down because it's a valid emotion.
The Jewish Community Center is offering support to victims and the whole community. Jonathan Lev again.
Everyone in the community is feeling right now. Feeling hurt, feeling sad, feeling grief, feeling a sense of loss, of safety. There's a logical piece of safety, but this is an emotional side of, am I even safe in my own community?
That might be especially true for some, since the attack in Boulder happened shortly after 2 Israeli embassy workers in Washington were shot.
So the Boulder Jewish community is working together right now on hosting a community-wide vigil later this week so that we can bring the community together in solidarity, connection, prayer, support, and in relationship with one another to be able to feel together.
But Lev knows that this attack has changed everything. There will be more security for all Jewish events from now on.
We work together with law enforcement as well as security professionals that many of us have in our organizations and security companies to be able to help ensure that safety and security is a top priority.
For the latest details on the investigation, please join us at cpr.org or click the link in our show notes. Remember Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO and Trump supporter who uses resources to prop up the big election lie? He's on trial for defamation this week in a federal courthouse in Denver. CPR's public affairs reporter Benta Berkland has been covering the legal fates of other 2020 election deniers in Colorado. She explains Lindell is being sued by a former employee of a voting equipment company that is based here.
Eric Coomer was the director of product strategy and security at Dominion Voting Systems. That's a Denver-based election equipment company when he found himself at the center of right-wing conspiracies during the 2020 election cycle. Proponents of false claims over the 2020 election allege that Coomer personally helped rig that presidential election for Joe Biden. Lindell, who has been an outspoken spreader of stolen election conspiracies, continued to amplify the claims, even after state audits found no evidence that voting systems in Colorado had deleted, lost, or compromised votes, and that the paper ballot tallies were accurate.
Coomer's legal team says that Lindell made at least $2.2 million from spreading the election rigging claims on his conservative media platform. Meanwhile, Coomer received death threats and was forced into hiding. Opening statements on the federal defamation suit started yesterday. Coomer's attorneys are seeking compensation for the distress Lindell caused. Benta, will we hear from them?
Coomer and Lindell will both take the stand during the trial, part of a witness list that includes another big name in Colorado election denial history. Tina Peters could be making an appearance. The former Mesa County clerk has been closely linked to Lindell and is currently serving her own 9-year sentence for helping a man gain unauthorized access to voting equipment in Mesa County in an effort to find voter fraud. This defamation trial is expected to last 2 weeks.
CPR's Benta Berkland. Colorado is home to a successful theater company founded to cast actors with disabilities and make it easier for people with disabilities to attend the shows. It just found out it is losing federal grant money it had counted on as part of shifts in priorities under the Trump administration. Trump says his new arts funding priorities include HBCUs and Hispanic-serving institutions, religious groups, and military communities. Disability and accessibility are not on the list.
It was really just a punch to the gut for us.
Corinne Millen is managing director at Family Theater Company. That is family with a PH.
Family is the longest running disability affirmative theater in the nation, and we started as a community theater. We started as a few friends over pizza wanting to perform, and they couldn't physically even get into the theaters that they wanted to audition for.
Now, Family stands to lose 10% of their budget. Millen got the news of the grant's cancellation hours before a dress rehearsal for the very show it supported, a production of Shakespeare's play Pericles.
Please pull back! Go again, fisherman!
It's not your typical Shakespeare. The actors play interactive games on stage with people with cognitive disabilities. Vin Ernst is part of the cast.
So that they get a chance to not only watch, but embody and experience kind of the emotional and physical journeys of these characters within it.
They say it is fitting that Pericles is about a prince who cycles through love and loss.
To be able to bring people who may have never found a community that they really 100% belong in into that storytelling process of kind of being found after being lost from the ones that you love and the people around you. I think that's very powerful in a lot of ways. And I think that everybody deserves to experience those kind of stories in life.
Millen doesn't exactly know how to navigate the current political movement against diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
I know some arts organizations and some nonprofits are taking their DEI statements off their websites because they're afraid. And if we do, then it's our entire mission.
She's leaning into the type of effort it took to get Family off the ground in the first place. Back then, her co-founder, Terry Westerman Wagner, said the odds were often not in their favor.
We should not have succeeded, but I think it was by sheer determination of all of us that we just weren't going to let it fail.
Right now, the old theater mantra, "the show must go on," seems pretty apt.
Right now, I'm frantically writing grants like a madwoman. I wrote one yesterday.
The actor, Ernst, explains how the arts have had an impact far beyond the stage.
For me, the biggest thing that Family has given me is just a deeper knowledge of myself, of who I am as an actor and as a performer and an artist, and also given me that kind of strength to not be afraid of that when it comes to my disabilities, and to go into other spaces that may not be made for me in that same way and not be afraid to advocate for myself, in which will hopefully then down the line create better accommodations and access in those spaces.
Millen says the federal government has always been the most reliable source of funding for Family, and to have it suddenly become incredibly unreliable has turned everything on its head for nonprofits across the country. Here at Colorado Today, we want to give you the news you need. But on a day like today, we could all use a little music to lift the mood. Chela Negro fronts Denver band Chela and the Charm. The song Denver, USA is about when she needed a lift, a time when it felt like all her artist friends were ditching town, heading west for new opportunities. Feeling bad about the exodus, she considered packing up as well.
I was at a going away party for one of these people, and it just was overwhelming how many people were leaving and the kind of the nostalgia feel for something that I felt was just starting.
All my friends have moved away, gone to California. It's good for business, at least that's what they say.
And I went outside. It was that perfect Denver twilight where it's that pink sky and the lights kind of changing and the neons are starting to come on all the buildings, but it's still kind of sunny out.
Blue skies and concrete.
And then just looking down, and it's just
trash swirls around your feet.
But beautifully blown by the wind, just cinematically trashy. And I thought, no, there's more to do here.
In Denver, USA. Denver, USA.
So Denver has that warmth, that community. It's a big city. There's a lot of things to do, but you still feel like you could go out and run into 5 people you know at the grocery store. This song is about how, yeah, sure, the grass may be greener in California, but here we have all of this stuff. We don't need to go anywhere else.
You pay your dues, you pay your cover, collect call your mother on Christmas. from a basement apartment.
Just being able to just like scream at the top of my lungs, Denver, USA, and pride that I take in this city and like I said, all that we've created, that's my uplifting moment. It's just at the top of your lungs, proud of being from Denver and singing just Denver, USA.
Denver, USA.
That's Chela Negro, the Denver band Chela and the Charm, talking about her song, Denver, USA. Chela and the Charm was a featured local act with our colleagues at Indie 1023. See their band picks for June in the link in our show notes.
And the tracks are clean in Denver, Denver, USA. Denver, USA.
Reporting for today's show came from CPR's Stephanie Wolf, Ben Marcus, Haley May, Allison Sherry, Jenny Berndein, Joe Erickson, Nathan Fernando Frescas, and Ryan Warner. If that sounds like a lot of names, that's because it is. It takes a village to make the show and report on breaking news. If you can, and you find it valuable, consider making a donation to support the reporting crew. The link is in our show notes. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.